got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole wide world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands. He's got the whole world in his hands.
Because I like being here. I mean, I don't feel like doing drama. It might be drama, it might not, but I'm not even fucking putting my time and energy into that because a lot of times it doesn't involve me. But what does involve me is our corrupt government and the treatment of our own citizens. As you can guess by the title of this video, I'm going to go over some more Lahaina Maui wildfires because I think there's a lot of information they're hiding and I want to hear what's going on with the people. So before we do that, it's a little tribute to the Maui victims.
Tears in my eyes, so where do I start? It seems like everything is falling apart. Blue canvas sky, but something painted it dark. From the ashes there will grow a garden of hearts. There was no warning, no alarm. Lost everything, but not our faith in God. That's why He sent His only Son to save this holy ground we're standing on. Won't you stand with the Lahaina? Oh, Hana. A million tears for you. Won't you stand with the Lahaina? Oh, Hana. Until the skies are blue. Something just ain't right, the way they cover their own. Feels like they wanted this land all along. Can't put a dollar sign on everything we own. Oh, Mr. Greed, just know you reap what you sow. Won't you stand with the Lahaina? Oh, Hana. A million tears for you. Won't you stand with the Lahaina? Oh, Hana. Until the skies are Whoa, no. Until the skies are blue.
I don't know. Maybe I just feel differently about it because, one, they're getting treated like second-class citizens over Ukraine. It's another land grab from Native Americans, Native cultures, things that have been centuries and centuries, probably going back to the 1500s, maybe even the 800s. But I take it. It's kind of like, I don't know, being an Islander myself. This is where both sides get together. Yes, it upsets me that it's against the American people, but at the same time, they're going against my culture. Granted, my culture, we Philippines and Guam, but we have a little bit of. I have like an aunt that lives in Hawaii, but that doesn't matter because it's all Polynesian, and it's like in the Polynesian countries, we have a tight knit community. We have big families, but we also have that tight knit community to where you could literally not lock your doors. You know everybody by the first name. The fucking eye of a hurricane comes and you're out there fucking grilling. Yeah, we did that. But yeah, some politicians are willing to acknowledge it, but at the same time, these politicians and the shows they're on, they get looked down on because liberals don't want to hear shit that goes against a narrative. However, what happens when a Democrat is one of the ones saying it? I know people don't consider her a Democrat, but she's also a resident of Hawaii. Doesn't change the fact. Hold on, Phoenix. You're gonna see that it's part of this video. Not this one, but the next one.
Joe Rogan and Tulsi Gabbard slammed the federal government, Maui's response during a recent episode of the Joe Rogan Experience. Let's watch.
On television after a massive tragedy where you have, we don't even know the number of people dead yet. You have this massive area that's been burnt to the ground.
So 3 weeks to a month ago, they said there's like 110 deaths. They just came out yesterday and said there's 97 in one of their briefings or sometime this week. How does it go from 115 2 weeks ago to 97? Explain that. Where are all the missing kids, Joe?
Ground.
Yeah.
And then he starts talking about taking it over for the state. That's an insane position to take.
It is.
Post tragedy. When people are suffering at their most, they can't even believe it happened.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden he's saying, we're going to take it for the state and make a memorial. How about give the
give
people
back to
their
the people.
homes back?
Exactly.
Later, Gabbard described her experience speaking to the survivors of the fire.
Calculated how much money we had set aside for Ukraine. So we have an extra $4 billion to send now that we didn't know we had. And this has happened a few times. Secretary of State Tony Blinken went to Kiev yesterday promising, hey, we're going to give you another $1 billion now. And this is the thing. When I was out there in Maui, person after person was like, Tulsi, tell me what would happen if we started to call ourselves Ukraine. You think they would give us some money then?
So I love the idea that people are drawing these direct comparisons between where the government is obviously willing to spend money, which
where
is
they should.
In overseas exploits and war, but not on domestic policy and the poor. This is the most famous Tupac lyric, and I'm glad to see it playing out here. Now, I am concerned about whether or not, one, it's going to be results driven because it is coming, it seems, exclusively from people who are not aligned with the Democratic Party. I would love to hear more of the progressive Democrats taking this line of approach and criticizing the ballooning military budget at the same time that it criticizes the lack of domestic spending. And I would also like to see some of these progressives call out conservatives who tried to obstruct the biggest domestic spending package one of the biggest of all time, if not the biggest of all time, in the COVID relief package, at the same time that they are all going around the country taking credit for the money as it gets appropriated to their respective states. I think this is good. I think this is great. But if it's going to be results driven, I think it has to seem like less of a partisan exploit and more really geared toward putting pressure on those in power who have the power to distribute more aid to people in Maui, people in East Palestine, people in Chicago, people in San Francisco, people in Mississippi, and all around the country, not just on a partisan basis and where it makes Biden look bad.
Sure. I mean, getting the Ukraine funding withdrawn or canceled, or the end of it would be a worthwhile goal in and of itself, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
So pointing out that hypocrisy, if it moves in the direction of Republicans saying, you're unwilling to fund all sorts of things, but Ukraine is a blank check, foreign policy in general is a blank check.
Yep.
Where's how is that possibly consistent? That's something that motivates a lot of libertarians make those arguments to try to turn Republicans into libertarians. To be like, you
fucking gives Hawaii something in the millions, like 124 million or something like that. I could be wrong. I know it's in the millions, but you turn around, give Ukraine 24 billion, and then on top of that, another billion, just for shits and giggles. A couple days later,
you oppose all this, welfare
but
spending, domestic just spending in general. But then when it comes to our foreign projects, you write a blank check. How is that possibly consistent, and how can you justify that? So I hope those arguments take hold as a way to constrain what we're doing in Ukraine. Obviously, with emergencies like Maui, whatever emergency, whatever funds are designated for the purpose of emergencies, I think should be spent on them to make people's lives better there. Have we had any news or updates on what is going to be spent in Maui? I thought you said that there have been some funds approved.
Yes. Maui, I think this just came out yesterday, is to receive nearly $95 million in federal aid for temporary housing and meals. The administration said this is a down payment on what is necessary, but it's essential help, and that they'll keep working hard to bring federal resources to the area. I've been following I believe a former representative from Hawaii who is progressive and has been critical of Biden's response throughout, who hailed this as a, quote, huge win. That's from Kaniela Ng. But, there is still this, I think, an interesting contrast that Joe Rogan and Tulsi Gabbard were raising with the comparison of the $6 billion that was found in the context of Ukraine aid that had fallen between the proverbial sofa cushions and the $95 million that's being allotted here. And the number, I haven't vetted it, but that they came up with in that clip that says it would take $5 billion to rebuild all of the homes that were lost. So again, I do think that drawing contrast between the incredible spending that we're willing to do in our military budget and the way that domestic spending gets so much pushback. I mean, remember, we had a whole year of fighting over the infrastructure bill, and infrastructure was supposed to be one of those bipartisan notions where everyone can agree that the country needs its infrastructure from the middle of the last century to be updated. We have highways in Pennsylvania sliding into ditches, and we have flooding and wildfires across the country. We have a highway system that hasn't
look at
been
some of
updated
those
70
videos.
years.
None of these cars have windows, but there's no broken glass. Did it turn it back to sand? Is that what happened?
Have dams that are cracking and bridges that are falling down. This should not be a political issue. You need an infrastructure for a country to run. But of course, it was an issue. And we got the bifurcation of Build Back Better. We got incredible cuts down to the teeth of these kinds of programs and down to the bitter end. And it came down to a largely partisan vote. So, we have to keep in mind that ideologically, there are differences between people who are more libertarian-minded and who might be making this argument and people who are more left-minded who are making this argument, because I think you would admit to libertarians want there to not be any more military spending, but they also don't want there to be domestic spending. So there's a way that it can sound like two people are both making the argument of drawing contrast between how dare you spend so much over there and not spend
upset with domestic spending, because we're actually taking care of our people. As long as we're not fucking printing more money with that bullshit, because we can still take care of our country and not worry about other countries unless we absolutely have to. Doesn't sound so bad. Or does it?
spend over here. But one camp also doesn't want them to spend over here. And if you really are invested in people in East Palestine and in Maui and in Flint, Michigan, and in Jackson, Mississippi, actually getting aid because you value them as citizens of this country who have been failed by their governments with lead in their pipes and fires ripping through their towns and a response system that hasn't been up to date and didn't work effectively, then you got to make sure that you're backing politicians who are actually incentivized, who actually have as their goal distributing those funds and not just using military spending.
What? You mean have politicians work for the people? No! We can't have that.
As a talking point.
Well, here's how I would respond to that. I mean, the reality is that the citizens of the country, including the citizens of Hawaii, do pay a lot in taxes. That money has been confiscated for them. There are better and worse uses for it. I think probably most people feel like, look, I mean, I'm not a total anarchist. I don't necessarily think the government shouldn't exist at all.
Right.
Probably
very limited.
The services people most want to get out of their government is basic police and fire and protection in the event of emergencies. I think that's what they feel like they're paying into it.
Okay.
Those are services that would have to be provided some way, even if there was no government, right? Even if it was all privatized or something. I mean, a society that doesn't have basic emergency services it's a tautology. It's not a society at all. So to the extent there's a proper role for government to play, and again, this is people's money, and it goes into a fund to be, the way an insurance system works. You're not necessarily going to use that, but you don't want to take the risk of having to pay the catastrophic toll yourself. So you pay into a fund, and then when that happens to someone,
mine does have
they get to take the authority takes the money out of the fund and uses it on them. So I'm not objecting to an emergency payment system. And people have paid into a system where they expect to get something out of it. That said, the government's revenues are gigantic. So the idea that they can't find money to help people desperately in need, when people pay tax money so this can be taken care of, is I can see why people are frustrated with that. I'm not necessarily saying there's anything wrong with that, although there might be a better system one could possibly design.
Yeah. Well.
All right, shut up, dude. She just had that look like, that was a stupid argument, but kind of feel with her on some of the issues. I really think. And apparently this is a racist dog whistle. Okay? I'm a white supremacist if I say this. I'm all about America first. Remember that. That's a racist dog whistle. Just like, well. Let me make sure this is the right one. I might have put it in wrong order. All right, it might be in the wrong order, but I really don't give a shit. It's more on everybody's favorite Rock and Oprah Winfrey tag team for this Maui wildfire. And they may or may not have been scamming people, as you saw in the last episode. Okay. But there's even more. I can't remember if this one was sent to me. This one was not sent to me. But we are going to review it because why not? We need to open people's eyes, or we can just watch more Oprah. Because, we might get a free socialist.
Did you know Oprah Winfrey has been securing Maui land like it's a trending bestseller? In just 2023, she invested in a vast 520-acre plot for $3.89 million, then went for another 330 acres at $2.47 million, not to mention the two 10-acre patches she bought in 2022 for $100,000 each. Amidst this real estate surge, a sudden fire happens, destroying homes nearby, but leaving her vast terrains unscathed. Does that ring a bell? Think back to 2017. A deadly fire consumed homes near her Montecito mansion, yet once again, Oprah's property emerged untouched. And after that event, she expanded her Montecito land holdings to a whopping 70 acres, even snapping up a 4-acre complex in 2019, which was decimated by mudslides shortly after the 2017 fire. The connections, the acquisitions, and the timing are definitely food for thought.
In what was meant to be a relaxed and introspective interview with Oprah Winfrey, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson accidentally made a jaw-dropping revelation that has left fans and viewers stunned. While discussing his personal connections to Hawaii and delving into his experiences there, Johnson inadvertently hinted at a potentially shady role in the recent Maui fires. "It's crazy how things can get out of hand so fast," Johnson mused, seeming lost in thought. "Like those fires in Maui. I never imagined a simple gesture could lead to such chaos." He quickly tried to steer the conversation elsewhere, but Oprah, always the astute interviewer, pressed on, asking him to elaborate. Johnson, realizing his slip, deflected, but the seed of doubt had been planted. The unexpected comment has ignited a frenzy of speculation online, with many demanding answers. Was The Rock implying direct involvement, or was it merely a misunderstanding?
Oprah drinks baby's blood? He definitely doesn't. Well, black don't crack, right?
A phrase taken out of context. Reps for Dwayne Johnson have yet to comment on the matter, but
Hey,
the entertainment
Google,
world is buzzing with
Oprah?
anticipation for a clarification on his cryptic remarks. In what might be one of the most unexpected turn of events, renowned actor Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson finds himself splashed in the deep end of drama, alongside none other than the doyen of daytime television, Oprah Winfrey. Hold on to your hats because this narrative is red hot. The Rock, famed for his Herculean physique and thrilling cinematic roles, now stands at the epicenter of a controversy that's as heated as a volcano in Maui. And adding to the intrigue, he's entwined with Oprah in some speculative, questionable ventures linked to a perplexing incident in the scenic Maui paradise. Who could have seen this coming? So what's the current buzz? A recent online video has ignited a digital inferno, rendering netizens both intrigued and baffled. In the spotlight are the illustrious Oprah Winfrey and the widely adored Dwayne Johnson, or as many fondly call him, The Rock. The cause of the uproar? Their newly unveiled venture, intriguingly dubbed the People's Fund of Maui. Indeed, footage of the duo has emerged where they elaborate on this ambitious project, stating, "We have crafted the People's Fund of Maui to channel funds directly to those most in need." Yet before plunging into the nitty-gritty of this unexpected venture, let's pause to absorb the sheer audacity of their proposition. Visualize the scene. Oprah, a billionaire, and Dwayne, with his multi-million-dollar fortune, passionately urging ordinary individuals, many grappling with financial challenges, to donate generously. This scenario might feel analogous to asking a fish to sponsor an aquarium. The subsequent reactions to this video have been nothing short of dramatic. A mix of admiration, confusion, and criticism seems to encapsulate public sentiment. And honestly, who wouldn't be startled? It's a rare spectacle to observe two such affluent personalities soliciting financial contributions from the masses.
Oh, that's
to
the
some,
first time
it might feel as if their request
affluent used for minorities. I'm just being honest. That's literally the first time I heard it with minorities.
Eagles to attend a flight school. Netizens were swift in highlighting the stark contrast between the opulent lives of these celebrities and the economic challenges faced by many. A Twitter user candidly remarked, "I'm genuinely baffled seeing a billionaire and a multimillionaire beseeching common citizens, many of whom are barely making ends meet, for donations." The prevailing sentiment appears to be one of bewilderment, given that both Oprah and Dwayne possess the financial muscle to effect change single-handedly without seeking public donations. To be fair, the idea behind a people's fund isn't fundamentally flawed. In essence, it's commendable. Yet, the presentation and context have spurred widespread debate. Both Oprah and Dwayne, luminaries who've reached unparalleled heights of affluence and influence, now seem somewhat disconnected from the tangible economic struggles many face in contemporary society. Their plea to their vast following, a significant portion of whom grapple with day-to-day financial woes, to back their noble initiative hasn't resonated well with all, but the plot thickens. Speculations are rife that Oprah's generous outreach to fire victims may be less about altruism and more about personal vested interests. One TikTok enthusiast humorously depicted the gravity of the Maui and Hawaii wildfires, underscoring the extent of the damage. The narrative takes a satirical turn as the user describes Oprah's supposed descent from her lofty perch to distribute blankets to the affected. By painting this portrait of Oprah, the user imbues the tale with a hint of irony, suggesting her as a somewhat detached, colossal figure, potentially unaware of the genuine hardships faced by those affected on the ground. The tumultuous waters of celebrity life never seem to be still, and for the likes of Oprah Winfrey and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, these waters are teeming with tales of intrigue, conspiracy, and controversy. Oprah, with her long-standing relationship with Maui spanning over 15 years, has been no stranger to whispers and innuendos surrounding her vast real estate ventures on the island. It's a vast empire, extending from the rustic Kula region in central Maui to the more remote regions near Mount Haleakala. These properties, which have curiously remained unscathed in the face of widespread fires, naturally invite speculation. Furthermore, her part-time residence...
Wildfires don't affect rich people, okay? It's a known thing, especially when you have your own fire department. Especially when you're up high, where there's no mountains, just hills. She cuts her grass.
which radiates a warm, comforting charm, becomes a symbolic space where memories of her humble beginnings intertwine with her present opulence. A genuine admiration for her home, expressed in her own words, has now become juxtaposed against the backdrop of speculative whispers regarding the strategic placement of her properties and possible alienation of indigenous communities. As with many things in the world of fame, what lies beneath the surface of this story is a tapestry of half-truths, speculation, and conjecture, only added to by her purported appearance during a fire crisis. Dwayne Johnson, on the other hand, hasn't been spared from the celebrity rumor mill either. Connections with Hollywood elites are often a mixed blessing, opening doors to opportunities, but sometimes leading one down rabbit holes of conspiracy theories and hearsay. Val Venis's Twitter tirade in 2020 is a testament to this. What began as an expression of displeasure at Johnson's political support spiraled into a labyrinth of dark and unfounded allegations. From suggesting that Johnson was associated with questionable Hollywood personas to alleging his involvement in heinous crimes, Venis's online rhetoric was nothing short of sensational, albeit lacking in tangible evidence. The implications made against Johnson did not stop with him as an individual. Institutions like Saturday Night Live and conglomerates like Disney were dragged into the quagmire, with Venis taking jabs at perceived inappropriate content and suggesting clandestine activities behind their public personas. While many were quick to dismiss Venis's tweets as outlandish, they shed light on the treacherous terrains celebrities often find themselves navigating, where a single tweet can trigger a cascade of rumors, sometimes damaging reputations irreversibly. The intersection of Oprah's speculated land deals and Johnson's rumored associations paints a vivid picture of the tumultuous, unpredictable world of celebrity existence. In a realm where public perception can swing wildly based on a single piece of information, the line between fact and fiction often gets blurred. While the intricacies of these tales remain shrouded in mystery, they serve as a reminder of the double-edged sword that is fame, bringing with it immense privileges, but also exposing one to the relentless scrutiny of the public eye. Indeed, the aftermath of the Maui fire has left a lasting impression on the public psyche, with fans grappling to reconcile the public personas of their beloved celebrities with their seemingly incongruous actions. The prevailing sentiment, as captured by one candid fan, is a potent blend of bewilderment and indignation. Why would personalities as affluent...
I'm still looking. That little crash site, apparently that wasn't it. I think someone's hiding it in their garage. And after seeing Oprah's garage, I'll fucking rob that bitch.
As Oprah and Dwayne, individuals who could make transformative donations with a mere swipe of their credit cards, appeal to the everyday person, many of whom are grappling with their own financial burdens. As this saga unfolds, it stands as a testament to the fragile nature of celebrity trust. Today, with the proliferation of social media and instantaneous communication, celebrities exist under a microscope, and their every action is dissected, deliberated upon, and sometimes even derided. The Rock, despite his enviable reputation and charisma, has not been immune to this phenomenon. The Maui incident and the ensuing controversy could very well be a watershed moment, one that might irrevocably alter the way fans perceive him. But for now, as the embers of this controversy continue to smolder, the world watches, waits, and speculates. The narrative surrounding Oprah and Dwayne serves...
All right, this is actually the video that got sent to me, which actually prompted me to actually do another one on Lahaina, because shit's not getting any better, and it's almost like they're trying to make people forget about Hawaii and what's going on like it never happened. Ukraine bad or good, Trump bad, Hunter Biden. Right? That's what's supposed to be. That's what we're supposed to be worried about. Not stuff like this. Who is my producer? They're fucking fired.
We just witnessed James O'Keefe, OMG Media, along with Mike Yoder.
Well, he witnessed that a couple of days ago. Just
a Lahaina resident, other esquires, other constitutional attorneys fight on behalf of Hawaii, on behalf of Lahaina, to ensure land will not be taken away by this corrupt government.
This lady is amazing. She did a segment about 8 minutes, which I will play just around 3 to 4 minutes of this video so you can see exactly what she said. James O'Keefe sued Hawaii for First Amendment violations of a ban on public photography in Lahaina.
So this
I believe you saw this few days ago. I came across this lady recently. She actually said a lot of things, and I see it important. We should take an exclusive look into what she said. If you never saw this video, I will read this article so you can understand exactly what is going on.
Post-millennial.
James O'Keefe Media Group filed a lawsuit this week against Hawaii Democrat Governor Josh Green and the county of Maui after being told they could not take photography or video on public land during a trip to investigate the aftermath of the devastating fires that burned the area to the ground. In hidden camera footage taken during the investigation, law enforcement officers in the devastated area told OMG journalists that due to the governor's emergency order in response to the fires, they were prohibited from taking pictures or videos on public land and even threatened founder James O'Keefe with arrest.
We just witnessed James O'Keefe, OMG Media, along with Mike Yoder, a Lahaina resident, other esquires, other constitutional attorneys, fight.
He's going to keep
on behalf of Hawaii.
That's what I wanted to say. James O'Keefe's making a difference. Again, let's hope this man doesn't get canceled after you expose Pfizer. And now this? Woo! That guy's going to need some extra protection. So, Oprah and her money. Yes, they absolutely did. I think I get into one of those stories. Maybe I don't. Anyway. So, where's this money going that is supposed to go to these residents? I don't know. You don't know. Oops. Fuck me. But I think the news might know.
About the new fund she opened with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson to provide wildfire survivors with direct payments. She said she was inspired by Dolly Parton, who started a similar fund back in 2017 after a wildfire event in Tennessee. But Oprah says shortly after creating the People's Fund of Maui,
what they don't tell you is Dolly Parton had a fucking concert. A concert to help raise this money. She didn't just come out and go, I want y'all to remember how the people's Lahaina are feeling at this moment. Can you just donate even $1.25? That might get them a bottle of water. Then again, it'll probably get them a stick of gum. I know, they need gum, people. Send $1.25 and you will help a Lahaina residents buy a pack of gum.
she became the target of online attacks and conspiracy theories.
In the beginning, so many people were calling, asking, where do we give our money to? So I thought, I'm going to give people a place to create. We're going to create something. And I still think it's a really strong idea.
Really?
Dolly Parton was right. Putting money directly into the hands of the people is a significant thing. And the model that's been created, I will say that as of today, 2,200 people have been cleared and verified. And those people are going to get a notice from the People's Fund of Maui and going to have the money.
And it's working. Oprah and The Rock donated $10 million to start the fund. Eligible adults can receive $1,200 a month through the recovery period. Since the disaster, people from around the world
$1,200 a month, yet illegal immigrants coming to this country get $2,200 a month. Coming here illegally. A month.
Donating to different organizations. Some of the biggest agencies that have been collecting funds are already giving out money, while some are still in the planning phases.
Well, I wasn't really comparing them. I was just saying how Dolly raised the money as opposed to Oprah. Did it come out wrong?
Has more.
After witnessing the heartbreaking images of flames ripping through Lahaina, countless people around the world poured in donations. Some of the biggest agencies collecting are already giving out money, while others are still in the planning phase. The biggest pot of money, over $110 million, is the Hawaii Community Foundation's Maui Strong Fund. Just over a month later, they've given out nearly $19 million of that to nonprofits.
We've seen major tragedies, but we've also seen major accidents.
Funny that they mentioned nonprofits, because yesterday, as you heard, the People's Fund of Maui is a nonprofit organization, and they donated $10 million. when the government puts all this money towards these charities to pay them back, it goes to the 501c3s first. Not only they're going to get $5 million as a tax write-off, but they get money from that charity that they get to keep. And I think there's another one that they were talking about where they pretty much triple their fucking money. I wish I had invested in Maui. I'm just kidding. Just kidding. But if it makes me money, then yeah, maybe.
Compassion. We've seen a community come together like never before.
Maui United Way has raised over $10 million. About half of that has already gone to more than 5,000 victims through a one-time $1,000 payment.
The urgency is always there. It couldn't come out fast enough. We were working around the clock. I was sleeping at my office. Everyone was all hands.
You guys, when you donate, I think when you're donating to some of these charities, and you want to see which charities actually give the people their money, all the best of the donations, check administrative fees, because administrative fees is what they take out before they donate the money. Let me check United Way. So the United Way, they take 15% of what everybody donates. Just so you know.
Hands on deck.
MMA star Alimale McFarland on Instagram raised $2.6 million.
When people start coming at me, when I'm like doing everything I can to get this money to the families, but I just want to reassure everybody that the money is not even in my hands yet.
She says Meta, Instagram's parent company, has yet to release the funds. And remember this, in addition to Oprah and The Rock's personal donation of $10 million for the People's Fund of Maui.
All these donations together, and fucking Meta, why are they having the fund if they're trying to get this money to the people? Fuck you, Zuckerberg. Another tool of the government.
So far, about $800,000 has been raised online.
You want to take care of the greatest need of the people, and that's giving them money.
Oprah and The Rock promised to distribute $1,200 monthly payments, but haven't said how much has been distributed so far. Wildfire survivors can still apply for the People's Fund of Maui online, and nonprofits are still accepting donations for.
Make sure when you check donations to profit organizations, double check and see how much you're actually giving to them, as opposed to who you're actually donating to. Now a little bit more about where the money goes. Got another one from you, same local. I'm glad these Maui stations are reporting this shit. Let's see what they have to say this time. This was 7 days ago.
Of dollars have poured in to help Maui residents who lost everything in the wildfires. Now, a little more than a month later, where has the money gone? Our Eddie Dow joins us now with an update.
After witnessing the heartbreaking images of flames ripping through Lahaina, countless people around the world poured in donations. Some of the biggest agencies collecting are already giving out money, while others are still in the planning phase. The biggest pot of money, over $110 million, is the Hawaii Community Foundation's Maui Strong Fund. Just over a month later, they've given out nearly $19 million of that to nonprofits.
We've seen major tragedies, but we've also seen major acts of compassion.
Wait, did I just replay this?
We've seen a community come together like never before.
Maui United Way has raised over $10 million. About half of that has already gone to more than 5,000 victims through a one-time.
My bad. I don't know how I didn't X out of that because I'm a fucking clown. Anyway. So, if they're going to explain what happened with these roadblocks were apparently set up before the fire even started. Possibly, which means yes. But these roadblocks are still in place, and they are really not wanting people to come in and out of the fire zone. the wildfire area, the affected area. I'm making shit up at this point.
Jonathan Herzog's video has been viewed over 1 million times. It tells the story of Front Street in those crucial hours of 3 p.m., 4 p.m., and 5 p.m. Jonathan Herzog's day didn't just end with roadblocks, but it began with them during his AM commute from Kihei.
And then as I got into Lahaina, they were redirecting us all around through these back streets, and branches were coming down.
On his way to Kaanapali, Herzog started filming as he entered town, sensing unusual conditions.
The winds were the worst winds I've ever been in my life.
When he was later heading home through Lahaina town just before 3 p.m., he hit this roadblock on the southbound highway at Kapuna Kea before the Cannery Mall. Herzog backtracked to where Front Street meets the highway. Traffic moved well enough at that time to rejoin the highway near Lahaina Luna here at 3:02 p.m. But then, Herzog says, traffic snarled with downed trees and crews working to the south.
Then I ended up turning around and trying to go north again, thinking, well, at least I'll get out of Lahaina.
But to the north, the gridlock was worse, he says, so he detoured over on Baker and then south again on Waine'e. At 3:19, his camera shows a police vehicle blocking access to the highway at Papalaua. But nothing had eased up, so without GPS, he heads north to look for an open route. His first view of the fire at 3:24 p.m. on the hillside, and just before 4 p.m., he ends up in this line of cars on Front Street, in gridlock.
My goal is to get into the Kingdom Hall parking lot.
Just sat there, I think it was a good 25 minutes, something like that.
Holy cow, dude. So now the smoke is virtually blocking out the light. I am going to make my way down to the water.
At 4:26, Herzog abandoned his car at Kingdom Hall and walked to Mala Wharf.
It was obvious the fire was out of control, so that's when I decided to leave the vehicle completely.
Passing vehicle after vehicle, he noticed of those on the bridge.
All of those cars were still sitting there, just same exact spots.
KITV4 reported on the other side of the Cannery Mall that Herzog passed by in the 4 p.m. hour. The highway was completely shut down for 2.5 hours at Keawe Street until at least 5:24 p.m. Traffic routed towards Front Street. At 5:30, Herzog comes to the end of Front Street, and to his surprise,
looks like 2 police vehicles parked kind of nose to that exit for Front Street, kind of at a V like this. The traffic had basically bottlenecked right there. So there were cars in both lanes trying to go north by this point, but everyone was stopped on Front Street right there.
As the maintenance worker walked past the gridlock, heading north on foot, at 5:33 p.m., motorists had been fleeing into the water, as seen in Noah Tompkinson's video, 1 mile to the south of the Front Street roadblock near Baker, 2 blocks south of where Herzog had abandoned his car. I asked the chief of police directly at the last press conference, we're commanding...
If they know these people need to get out of this fucking dangerous area, why block the roads? Because who the fuck can be coming back in town? You can literally open up all the roads to get out of the area. But of course, no, we want to funnel everybody out of a certain area. That way people can get fucking stuck and then somehow disappear or burn up to where we have to have a sniffing dog come sniff through the ashes and hopefully we can find DNA. Right?
And in control for fire and police in contact that afternoon in the Emergency Operations Center. He declined to answer that, but says that police were directing the public away from dangerous power lines. Hawaiian Electric says those power lines were de-energized as of the morning. Reporting from Lahaina, Jeremy Lee, KITV4 Island News. Back to you.
Oh, de-energized. All right. No big deal. And now this one's a little more about missing children. And I'll explain that one in a minute. And the next video I'm going to show, it's about an hour long, so I'm pretty sure only I'm going to watch. It's the actual people of Maui talking to their city council. But the first one, this lady, a local in Hawaii, she's been doing a lot of these things for Maui, even though she's not in Maui. A lot of them got a good information that probably people don't want to hear about, but I like to hear about it, and I know you guys like to hear about it, and that's why you're here.
Another update on the Lahaina fires. So I've done a little more research in some of the findings in the burn area. And again, I want to thank Eric West for putting these videos up, for going into the burn area and getting footage. I very, very closely look at this footage. I'll link the video that I got these pictures in so you guys can see for yourself. It's a pretty lengthy video. So I picked up pictures that I thought were, I guess, unusual to say the least. But let me talk about first the numbers, the more recent numbers of missing and deceased. So
this is 3 weeks ago.
That number, find it.
I just wanted to see.
Expected to jump from 800.
Oh, she looks like she's drunk. I love perfect pauses. Come on, drunk lady. The Hawaiian Nancy Pelosi.
With the demands of info. Telling you straight, if there are missing, they are deceased. Firemen have not been allowed to investigate. I have seen no resource orders through OES, no IMT or incident management teams, nothing. The government is trying to hide something. In 30 years, I've never seen anything like what is going on here. Something is very, very wrong. So this is not coming from me. This is coming from a fire captain in California. I'm not going to identify him, but that came to me. Okay. And that also brings me to another question that has not been properly addressed by the authorities. And
you think she's a lizard?
I talked about this in my last video is what about the children? We know that there are a lot of children who were enrolled before the fires who are not. And I saw an interview on, I think it was like KHON, one of the local news channels. They were interviewing the head of Hawaii's Department of Education. His name is Hayashi. And he was talking about how they're providing all these resources for the children, the victims. But he didn't address the children who aren't enrolled. Like, what are they doing to identify them? Are they investigating? Are they trying to contact their families? You know, looking into if their home was in the burn zone or not.
And the thing is, the way the wildfires are set, they start at like 6 in the morning, I believe, or 3 in the morning. But a lot of the wildfires didn't really get going until right around where the parents went to work, and the kids were actually still at home when all this shit happened. Kind of weird, the timing.
Maybe they should be knocking on doors, trying to find and locate these children. And if they are located, maybe offer some assistance to get these children enrolled in school. If they have survived, they're probably going through a lot, and their guardians might need help dealing with that. As a mother myself, I know
they're still
that
missing.
These aren't such easy things sometimes.
Remember? Because they have to, get the drug sniffing dogs, the cadaver dogs to get out and smell, and then, go from there once they find the dust, ashes.
Would be nice if the Department of Education were looking into this more seriously. Maybe there is a task force doing this, but they haven't publicly announced that. And if there was, I would think they would announce it. Like we have a task force of X number of people looking into the kids who are not enrolled, trying to track them down, find out if they need help getting enrolled, something like that. It doesn't sound too complicated. I just came up with that right now.
Okay.
I'm not saying that's not happening, but I have not heard an official report of that happening.
Right. I'll get to the picture.
Okay. And then a few other things that I want to put out. Now, just forgive me. I didn't have as much time to research these things. So I'll just, give you guys what I have.
Thank you.
So there's been a lot of talk about
hopefully it's not herpes.
Like what's going on with the color blue. Why are there so many blue items that haven't been burned in the fire?
Please explain.
So I'll put some pictures up from Eric's video of when he went into the burn site. I think this was just like a couple days after the fires. And I did notice
Did I say Wakanda?
a few number of items that are blue that were not burned. Everything around it was burned. One here is a picture of a sign for the tennis courts, and it's in great shape. Looks like
So
everything
only the
else
sign is
around it
good.
was affected by the fires,
Right, 'cause it's metal.
except for that blue sign.
Yeah.
So that to me is
Everything around it's metal.
an anomaly.
It's not
Another item is this blue car that was obviously in the fire because a lot of parts were burned.
Yo!
But
why does this motherfucker still have tires? Are you sure that motherfucker was there? Looks like a plant.
the blue part of the car and the windshield and windows and the
Oh,
the
yeah,
rear
those are there
lights
too.
look like they're
Bitch,
in
mention the
pretty good
tires.
shape. So that's a little weird because the other cars around it are like completely destroyed, and that building behind it is completely destroyed. I mean, that could be an accident. I'm not sure. Okay, and again, these umbrellas, they are blue. They don't seem to be
They're
burned.
fire retardant.
At least not
Okay.
much.
Come on.
And the
I'm
really
debunking
interesting
these
item that I thought was worth going into, he found these blue shirts, and there were a bunch of them, and they were still folded. Some of them were just like still neatly folded amongst all these other burned, everything else around it was burned. And they were not burned. I looked at them closely, and they might be a little dirty, but they're not burned. And that's very odd. Some of them had tags still on them. So it was like they were protected somehow from the fire.
Okay.
I don't know how these blue items survived. I'm not gonna, give speculation, towards like direct energy weapons or anything like that, because I don't know enough about that technology to link them together. But I'm not saying there is no link. I just can't confidently say
I could see that.
that is why these blue items survived.
Oh, it's blue.
Another thing that has been brought up, and Eric recently released a video. He looked at some of these burned cars.
I don't know if it was the night before. I know there was an initial test that was 7 months ago, and they said it's the Chinese. Okay. Of course you're going to believe it's the Chinese because that's what they tell us. There's no way that we would do this to our own people. Come on, we haven't done it before.
They had melted aluminum coming out of them from like the rims of the tires and things like that. So the thing that makes this kind of hard to pin down, like, could this fire have really liquefied aluminum? Could it have melted glass?
No.
It's unlikely, but it is.
I mean, if you believe the World Trade
exactly.
Centers came down because of planes, then you might believe this. I mean, that. Please, FBI, don't come knock on my door.
How hot this fire got. It's obviously a lot hotter than you would think a brush fire would be or a residential fire would be. But I did dig up some numbers. The melting point of aluminum alloy, which is what car rims are usually made out of, is 865 to 1240. So 1,240. It's not that high. So the fire could have gotten to that temperature. But what I'm hearing, and you can hear it in the video that Eric put up, is that these metals would need a sustained energy source for a while to liquefy. But I can't prove that that did or didn't happen. There's a lot of talk about there had to have been an accelerant, like gasoline or something that we're not aware of, that caused this fire to be hotter than it would have been, or caused it to be more aggressive than it would have been. And I think a lot of this points to the fact that there probably was. A lot of reports are coming out, and you can see this in multiple videos of people that escaped the fire, is that there was big black plumes of smoke. So when you look at a fire, and I looked this up, when a brush fire is going on, and it's like wood and leaves and things like that burning, the smoke is white. When it's like a fuel, plastic, or like rubber that's burning, the smoke is black. So black indicates that either fuel is burning, rubber and plastics, things of that nature are being burned. So I don't know exactly how that points to anything, but I thought that was interesting. Something that is a little more telling is the fact that there was melted glass. So glass has a very high melting point. Let me just get melting point of glass in Fahrenheit, 2,600 to 2,800 degrees Fahrenheit. So that's pretty high. Seems high for a normal fire. Just my opinion, I can't say that means that there was absolutely an accelerant or another source of the aside from what we know. I just can't say exactly what that means. It's just one of those anomalies that's normally not seen in like a car fire. It seems like there's way more destruction than expected
Right.
for these cars.
Can we get to the
Oh,
next?
yeah, something else that I came across in my research, and I heard an interview. I will look for that interview. It's not like direct
Well, if
evidence.
you
It's
heard it, then
just
you should know
a
where to find it.
secondhand report from a firefighter
Right.
who claimed he saw a large number of deceased bodies that he strongly believed were homeless people. And
They
there
burned to
is
death.
a pretty
How do you know?
well-known homeless encampment in Lahaina. If you guys know exactly where this is and can verify that this was in the burn area, please put that in the comments. I'm not familiar enough with the city to know exactly where this encampment was, but I'm sure if you lived in Lahaina, it was a pretty
Well, if
big
you live in Lahaina, you
community,
probably don't.
up to like
live
100
there
people
now.
or something like that. I actually saw footage again from Eric about this that he did months ago, like way before the fire. And, we haven't heard anything about that. And I'm just guessing we never will. And unfortunately,
Yeah, we will in 20 years.
often homeless people are overlooked.
We'll hear about all of this in 20 years and find out it was a government conspiracy. And it was Norway. I mean, India. China? No, that's who they're blaming it on right now. Anyway, like I said, that was one of the last videos for that. And what we're going to do, well, what I'm going to do. Hello, Nunya. Kev's catching too, right? Yeah. Okay, let me put that one on as well. But this is Lahaina residents talking to their representatives. And this is where you're going to hear what's really fucking going on. Hope y'all enjoy as much as I will.
Hello, Kakiaka Kako. Good morning, everyone. I'm Dennis Guy Hui from Kianai and Malalao Lapao. I'm a medicinal healer. I'm here to share you my thoughts on this matter pertaining to our county leadership and Maui emergency response management. I'm not here to point finger, blame, or accuse, but I want them to be aware and mindfulness. Okay, I consider Maui County leadership and Maui emergency response management a failure to the Kula and Lahaina wildfire because there's three issues that I'm still considering yet. There was red flag warning conditions on August 7th and no precautionary procedures in place. No public warning of any kind. Okay, and over 100 dead. Right? As a Lapa'au healer,
Over 100 dead when, like I said, a report came out within the past 2 days saying it was only 97.
We want to focus on your energy in building back now. And be aware of scams and corruption. E hui o Lapa'au. We're gathered as healers. E hui ai Lapa'au. We gather for healing. Yeah.
Yeah.
E Hawaii, e aloha. So my closing testament, I want to share you something that I also share with my students as well, even with the CEO, or even with my church members. Okay, it's called mantra meditation. Some of you heard this, but it works. Okay, the reason why we make so much pilikia is that we clog our mind with fear, with all kinds. Okay, so I want everybody to do this exercise and see if it works.
All right.
Breathing deep, then gradually exhale slow. Okay, and do it again. But this time, feel if you can feel that breath coming out. If you cannot, then you are stressed, you are tension. What happens when you think on a job? You're gonna make mistake, you're gonna fail. Okay, that's lao lapao. It's time for do something else. Then come back and continue. Our mind is like the surface of the ocean. We have two minds, the surface mind and a deep mind.
Okay.
So if we got so much involved in a surface mind where it's moving, okay, it's time to go back to yourself. Breathe in, exhale. Okay, so that I share you, it's good. It works.
Council members, my name is John Kinimaka.
Hello, John.
I just wanted to clear some things up because, about the pointing of fingers. I had a fireman friend of mine tell me that I need to get accurate information. So he sent me a message, and I'd like to share that with you.
Oh, shit.
The fire in the morning wasn't raging, so yes, sometimes we don't use sirens in the early morning out of respect for the people sleeping. No one needed to be evacuated, and we got there. The fire was contained in the morning. It was out, but there's still many smoldering spots. I don't know if smoldering means it's out, but the crew stayed there till 2, trying to clean it up the best they could, dumping as much water as possible. Being that there were multiple fires going on throughout the island, those crews stayed. They stayed there. Truex came and cut dozer lines around the fire to ensure it was contained. Obviously, it wasn't. I left that morning when I was living on Lahaina Luna Road with my friend Ann that lost her home. And at 5 in the morning, I felt the heavy, heavy gust of wind while I was sitting in my car getting ready to leave. And not very long after, I did witness the fire department going up without any warning of sirens to let us know that the possible danger. I wasn't there to experience what many people had experienced. I was north trying to get power, not knowing that my town was burning down.
That sucks.
I want to share this with my friend Kirk Bose. Posted this on my Facebook page. We left our home after we decided to leave on our own at the bottom of Lahaina Luna neighborhood. No sirens, no police or firemen, just left on our own because it was getting scary smoky. Made it out to Lahaina Luna Road through the fire, barely escaped. One cop at the intersection waving us into town. Wouldn't allow us to turn either north or south on the highway. Got trapped by the outlet mall trying to turn north on Front Street. Meanwhile, the one policeman at the old chart house turns out was not allowing cars out at all. They had no plan, no communication, no preparation, no common sense either. Nearly killed us twice. Drove, then ran south down Front Street while people at Outlet Mall jumped into the water, embers blowing under the car. Made it to 5:05, then 10 minutes later, it all started burning. It's a miracle we are alive. I'm not pissed at the police or firemen. They did the best they could as people, but they are understaffed, underpaid, under-equipped, and poorly led, trained, and prepared for a real emergency. Also, I have a friend that was working at Puamana and nobody evacuated her. She decided that the smoke was getting really bad, and she was there at the south end of Front Street, was denied access to go south where she would have been safe, was directed by the police to turn around and head back to the death trap in Lahaina. She made it to the south or the north end of Front Street, where she was gridlocked after making it through a maze of gridlock to the end or the north end of Front Street. turned back around towards Puamana. By the time she got back to the other end on the south side of Puamana, the police weren't there. Apparently, they wouldn't let anybody through because the power lines were down. But at the same time, there were still vehicles coming from Wailuku bound, from Wailuku towards Lahaina. Another thing I'd like to share is that about tourists and them wanting to reopen Lahaina. We don't need tourists helping, as we showed how our community can provide for our own community without government aid from day one. Tourists should stay away from West Maui. We still have to find the missing. We need to house the displaced. We need to process. We still need to grieve. We need to heal. We still need to find out what went wrong. We need to make a geographical restriction on all car rentals from cruising over to the west side. We still need to prepare for and work on plans and prevention for the next potential disaster. Every government action and inaction since the fire has been a complete failure. We need to stop these government failures at some point. Now is the time. Mahalo.
Hello, I'm Ann Williams, and
how?
I lived at 457 Lahaina Luna Road. And I just, I definitely encourage this whole fire to be investigated further, not only for just legislation, but just on a criminal level. I'll just tell you my story. I right there, about 3 blocks where the fires were going off. I immediately knew there was a fire because I'd been watching it personally, but didn't even have time to get into the car and drive. The roads were already blocked. My driveway, I wouldn't have even been able to get out of my driveway if I wanted to. Luckily, my key actually broke when I tried to get in, and so I had to run down. But thank you, God, that was my saving grace. If I was in my car listening to all the policemen that were out there, I would have been dead, like most of my other friends and relatives. Ran down to Lahaina Luna Road, got down to the light. Luckily, I found my daughter down there in her truck, so I did get into a vehicle at that point. We're being blocked right there. Couldn't go anywhere by a police officer. But
What's he gonna do? Arrest all of y'all?
People disobeyed the cops. I just went down. We had to go down Front Street in order to save ourselves. I had a whole family in my car, including the 2-year-old. There was no way I was going to sit there and listen to this cop telling us to stay put. Went down Front Street, total mess. So many cars. We're looking at 10,000 people trying to get out right away, all at the same time in the tiny little streets of Lahaina. Everybody being forced to Front Street, not being able to drive on the highway because there were some power lines down in that immediate area. We went through Safeway parking lot, saw the power lines there, so we ended up going out. Finally, we did escape out the Fleming's Chart House exit to go north. We went north. Free sailing at that point after Fleming's got out there. They hadn't blockaded us yet. I was one of the lucky few that got out that way. No,
if you have a whole city of people trying to get out, going these ways, they can't stop all of it. They probably will try to stop one. Who's gonna really fucking stop? Just go around the motherfuckers. Push them out of the way. And
all the way north. And we got to Honokawai that way. After me, though, they decided to block it. And there was still no power lines down because I did come out the next morning and I saw the death trap. It was where there were no power lines still yet the following morning. Everybody could have gotten out. Everybody could have gone out. It was free sailing going north. But the police officer there, quote unquote, from direct other residents who talked to him, were walking, saw all the cars stopped. He finally walked all the way up to the front at the exit, policemen standing there. And the guy said to the policeman, "There's a fire. The fire is coming. You got to let these people go. I've got orders." We need to investigate that. Who is giving these cops orders? I mean, if the police officer might be taking orders, it's not his fault personally.
Bruh.
But there's somebody above him that did this. And they need to investigate
tell you
that.
what, if it's me and I was able to with my Jeep,
And then John
pulling that
said
bitch off
the
road.
far end of Front
Fuck
Street was
cops.
blocked, bringing him in that way, and then blocked this way. It's obvious we were intentionally trapped. And I hope that this gets investigated further. And I have the eyewitnesses who have spoken to that cop directly.
Thank you.
Thank
Ms.
you.
Williams. Before you go, I just wanted to clarify, the purpose for a council investigation would be for legislation to be written. There is other investigations going on.
That's
the
good.
Attorney General, that thing that I read in the beginning, they could find criminal liability, but
Just let her talk.
I just wanted to clarify that's not.
That was her
anything
voice.
Yeah, I kind of realized that too when I got here this morning. That's what more of your point. But for everything,
yeah,
I wanted to share that all that information so that you can do what you need to do for your legislation, and hopefully it helps the criminal investigation as well.
What criminal investigation?
Okay, next up, Dick Mayer. Go ahead.
All right, Dick.
Good morning, and I want to thank you for taking up this very important matter and getting legislation and getting us prepared for future potential disasters. I noticed in your resolution that you have 4 departments
like
of the
George
county
Soros looking
mentioned. I would urge you to add the following: the water department to that list. They can do a lot of things in preparation, everything from preparing reservoirs to make sure the pipes are not plastic, et cetera, et cetera. And I think they should be included. The second one is the planning department. I've long urged the county to develop a comprehensive GIS system that will allow us to have all the information coordinated on one set of maps, rather than as we now have dispersed among many departments. Every department, the police department, the management office, the planning department, they each have their own GIS system. We need to develop one coordinated GIS system. So I would urge you to put that on the agenda as well as a part of it, the coordination of information that will allow good dissemination of communications later on. And lastly, I would urge you to consider, even though it's not a government agency, it is regulated by the government, and that is Maui Electric. The role of the power lines and causing the fire, et cetera, I think it should be part of this investigation, and hopefully maybe be able to coordinate the legislation along with the PUC to make sure that we have the necessary prevention measures. The second thing I wanted to say was, I think you should think of this as 2 phases. One is, let's find out what happened and whether it's blame that's needed or just a discovery of
the
issues
fucking
that we're
alien?
not adequately prepared for, et cetera.
Where's
And the second
eyeball?
part is find out what we need to do to prevent anything like this ever to happen again. And think of it in those 2 separate phases, and I think that's important.
Holy fuck balls.
Lastly, I think we should focus on this wildfire and doing everything we can to prevent it from ever happening again, but also consider that we also have several other equally, maybe even more significant potential disasters, namely the hurricanes, earthquakes. Maui has had an earthquake in 1938. Tsunami, certainly, we know about.
Were you around for
flooding,
that earthquake?
that whatever we do, we don't put all our eggs in just stopping damage from wildfires and shortchange prevention of these other disasters. And so I hope you keep that in mind, and maybe the degree to which we can develop disaster prevention, disaster initiatives, we can do it for all of the disasters, not just wildfires. I think that will be important in the long run because they're all threats to us and they're all different.
Your headphones there, buddy.
The transportation issues, the water, the responses after the disaster, all of that are all different. We need to have a very robust plan. But let me just remind you that the FEMA office has every 5 years prepared a master plan to handle disasters. Mm-hmm. And certainly a big question will be what in that plan is good and what we need to throw out so that we can handle it. It's a 1,000-page document that was prepared a year or 2 ago. 5 years before that, it was also prepared. My feeling was, and having worked on the committee trying to write that thing, that plan gets prepared, but nobody feels that they have to implement it.
Right.
So I think you'll find a lot of good material there. Thank you.
My name's Jeffrey Stephen of the House of Jarrett. Now you put a face with a name. I am the one that sues this group, and I'm holding you accountable.
All right, Leatherface.
And the reason being, legislation will not bring back the dead nor the harm. There are hundreds of people that are not allowed onto their
Bro,
property except
his
strangers
face,
to
if
the
you look right around the mouth, he looks like from the Hollow Man when they put that latex face on him, the Kevin Bacon version.
EPA are sifting through their sacred property and sacred ground, and they are not being investigated. The same material is then removed from the site and supposedly being sent to the mainland. That should be of high
What?
concern to you.
Why?
Because of this chamber, who addressed this same issue in 2018, is allowing people from out of our country, the nation of Hawaii or the state of Hawaii, to abscond this information, because I guarantee you, none of you know exactly what's responsible for this fire. None of you do. And because of that, it's a crime scene. And if it's a crime scene and they're removing the product or spraying product on it, the EPA spraying product on it,
I blame Jay-Z.
and then they're removing product from it, you don't know if it's an accelerant from chemtrails, whatever those things are, or if it was malfeasance by the electrical department, Hawaii Electric, Maui Electric, same company, or if it's malfeasance by maladministration, because I, as a builder, I'm licensed in electrical, plumbing, general contracting. I'm licensed to remove asbestos, toxic metals, and lead.
So you're
I
gonna
can
make money.
guarantee you, I have seen pictures of these people doing their thing, and they are not in hazmat suits that qualify for them to remove lead from a house, let alone toxic waste. Yet they are. You don't know what is going on. And they're basically, because of that, it's a crime scene, and they are manipulating, taking material from it. Under Title 18 USC 4, malfeasance and a form of fraud. You now know that this has gone on, and because of that, you must do an estoppel immediately so you can have a true investigation from outside sources that are not from someone that, whether it's a directed energy weapon or chemicals coming down.
You mean like the
or
laser?
The electrical department not having the correct size poles up, or the administration not demanding that it's done right, or this group not demanding it's done right. You have a responsibility, not just to me. I come in the name of Yeshua.
Huh?
You have a responsibility before God. You're going to all account before a living God. And trust me, you see the scar on my face? I died at the age of 15 months. I drowned at the age of 3. I've had other things that have happened. I know the other side exists. So please, for the children's sake that did not get to speak because they were incinerated,
It looks like he's alive.
investigate this whole thing. Have an estoppel.
If he's
Go
got
in
9 lives,
immediately, take information out so you can find out exactly who, what, and how it actually happened, so it doesn't happen again.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are
you drunk?
Vendetti, representing Pu Ho'olai, on Kauai. And if this council wanted to solve any issues, you'd be listening to all the issues. Because if you want investigations, we need investigations into the water department.
Right.
We need investigations into the police.
Yes.
Why, when we had 2 qualified sheriffs that were local, did we go hire a sheriff coming out of a scandal out of Las Vegas, placing him in power? Not only that, giving him a 20% raise.
Because he's such a shitty
What's
sheriff.
that about? And my friends are getting chained into the Lahaina Luna, back into the fire, by these police brought from Vegas. I want an investigation into the governor. The governor is in charge of all of this.
Right.
And I want to know why the land hasn't been tested. Why am I, a citizen out of Hana, Kauai, having to try to get private tests?
It's not going to be tested because they just want to take the land. So they're going to be like, oh, it's got all this stuff in it, but we didn't test it, but we're taking the land from you.
Yes, on water and land, because nobody in our government will help us. The only person's Gabe Johnson. That's the only person I got respect for.
Who's Gabe Johnson?
And you silencing people when they're talking about real issues. We have water that's given us leukemia.
Wait, what?
I am probably already infected with benzene and gonna have leukemia because from day one, I've been doing runs into Lahaina Luna, into Hawaiian Homes, into Waikuli,
To do
covered
what?
in the dust. I have nowhere to clean myself off.
The ocean.
It's just benzene water cleaning me off. I'm breathing that in all day long because the county's not out there helping the people. So I'm developing a water transport system for me out. I've got flatbed trucks coming, 1,000-gallon tanks, 300-gallon water buffaloes in each neighborhood. Because nobody that was elected to take care of the people is helping. We weren't getting supplies from the county. We had to call in our brothers and sisters from other islands, from Kihei. I had to call my friends that were captains of pack whaleboats, getting them to bring supplies. I didn't see one official. I set up a communication post in the Times parking lot because that was the safest place, food, water options, restrooms, concrete area. I didn't see one official for 48 hours. And then when they did come, when the police did show up, they came to disperse our communication post when we had no information, no communication. And so I hold all of you responsible, most specifically the governor.
And the police chief.
Aloha kakayaka kako again.
What up, bro?
I'm here this morning just to tell you guys that I support a full investigation into this, even though it's just for legislative action. But I believe what could help is if you have the Attorney General here to get to the issues. I hear you guys are planning to do a meeting like this, a public meeting with the committee in Lahaina. I believe you guys better get ready for that. I believe you guys got to get ready for that meeting. There's going to be a lot of riveting testimony about people's experience of what happened. But I'm more here for a reason. I'm here because I asked the representatives of the Pu'uhonua at Honokowai. We're having an issue with keeping up the water supply. A lot of people are coming there because they need water. So if we could somehow get help from the county to come and help to come and check on our water supply, help to replenish our water supply at the Pu'uhonua. Also, the water test that Mario's run on the water that we have. Ultimately, I'm looking at the water tester that he has. It's a little outdated, I see.
Okay.
If somebody could come down there and test the water, kids are taking a shower, they're jumping into the ocean, they're taking a shower, they're washing their hands, using the restroom over there and stuff like that. We even have like a water filtering system going there. I believe somebody got to come out and check out the water. This is issues that's going on right now. Okay, you talk about an investigation. Ultimately, people are trying to live normal lives. We're lucky we live on this side. We live in Central. Things are semi-normal here. Once you cross into Lahaina, it's a different world. Councilmember Paulton, I've been following all of her work at Napili Noho. They're doing a great job. I believe Honokowai needs a little assistance too. They're doing a great job there. They're helping to keep up morale of a lot of people who's going through tough issues in this time. There's a lot of frustration. And like I said, if you guys plan this meeting in Lahaina, get ready for more riveting conversation. And I hope you guys don't shut down what people have to say. This is their way to vent to you guys. You guys could get good information. I believe you guys can get in touch with the Attorney General. Have her be there. Have her be there in the meeting. Then we don't have to go to this, oh, you're not supposed to say this or you're not supposed to say that. We want to just let it out and let you guys know. I come here because I care about Lahaina. I don't come here for any other reason than that. And I ask you guys for your help with our water supply at Honokowai, please. Okay? If you guys can send a truck with
Get
some
the
water
shirt
down
off,
there to get our supply up, if you can get in touch with Uncle John or something like that, that's what I ask from you guys. Thank you very much. Have a beautiful day. God bless you guys all.
I have an Uncle
Any
Gene.
questions?
Thank you, Mr. Gomes. Councilmember Sinensi has a question for you.
Mr. Gomes. Just for clarification, this is going up to the river, the Kahawai
no.
the valley.
Where
Honokawai
Times
Valley.
Supermarket stay, you take a left by Times, and it's at the Honokawai Beach Park. It's Pu'uhonua now. A lot of displaced people.
Right.
There's also entertainment on the weekends. Today, John Cruz and Irie Love is going to be playing.
he's wearing
If you
shorts
guys are interested, come on down and check it out. But a lot of aloha.
Mahalo.
Thank you.
Speaking on my own behalf. First, I don't think staff should be
Ryan?
interrupting testifiers. I think if anything, the chair would be the one to do that. And I have noticed that chairs of committees have been really good about giving people a lot of leeway, which I think is appropriate in the wake of a really bad disaster. And I've seen that from Nohe, Tasha, I think Tom Cook. So that's really good. So, and I think people appreciate it. And if they need to vent, then just let them vent.
Yeah, we're going to
But really, a lot of things could be relevant and should be relevant when we're considering it. So, I want to encourage an investigation that's done not 100% or 99% in an executive session, because I think this information needs to go to the public, and the people are really they're hungry for information, and in the absence of information, there's conspiracy theories, and I think that's not helpful. And openness is really good. And what I really don't want to happen is what happened with that Spire assessment, which was rather than investigation by the council or an open body, it was done by a company that was contracted for a lot of money.
Oh,
and in that instance, staff from Ziad said that they were basically raising the alarm to the investigators about a lot of issues.
Have a good day.
And it ended up being glossed over or put in terms where it wasn't clear to the public. There's actual corruption described in that report, and it basically flew under the radar. So I mean, an open investigation that is actually looking for the actual causes and not necessarily assigning blame, but looking for structural causes of this disaster. I mean, it's important for the entire community and moving forward and making improvements in the future.
My name is Lisa Darcy. Appreciate the time to be here. I'm the founder of Share Your Mana and a council or a commissioner on healing solutions for homelessness, and I'm here to testify on my own behalf. The legislation is going to, of course, be very important. It will connect a lot of the dots that are not connected, which we all know are connected. My testimony today is really a challenge, I think, to this body and to us as a community. And one of the most dramatic pieces of this puzzle that I always find somehow gets kind of pushed aside is really our attitudes towards the laws and our following up. And
what do you mean?
And I know Councilmember Sinensi knows the drive that Share Your Mana has, that every resident have water on the island. It isn't a socioeconomic need. And the legislation where, to support this really also has to come from your heart and your mind, knowing the right thing to do. There's not really a lot of legislation that governs our mana and where we really put our energy.
Well, it was
It's really up to you to find the ways to make the law work for everyone and make communication work for everyone. What you will find in this investigation is so many people are not connected to standard ways of getting information. And so they wouldn't get the information. Like if you're disabled and or elderly, low education, you may not have all the resources that other people have to get the information. And we have to put that into the legislation as well. It's got to work for everyone and not just a handful of people. And so my testimony today is really to urge you to go beyond even what you find in the reports and to recognize how important it is that every resident needs the basic fundamentals, the basic supports of life. And where you don't see that in your report, to try and find a way to make it so that every one of our people here, not my people, the people who live here, have safety.
See, she's an SJ dub.
To getting out of a difficult situation. And more importantly, so more people don't fall into the cycle. I just want to say thank you. I just want to also acknowledge, I heard some of the earlier testimony about transportation and how fundamental this is for people moving from space to space when there is an emergency, and to please consider how important transportation is. And I was once rewarded in doing a really good job at my job by being pushed out. And so I think your legislation has to really acknowledge when somebody is actually doing something that's right, to support that person and not push them out. So you have a big job. Any way that I can help, I'm here. Mahalo.
Aloha tomorrow. I can see Auntie Alice. I think that's Uncle Senesi, Cousin U'u, that you gave. Mr. Cook.
He just stepped out.
Aloha.
On 8/8, we were monitoring the frequencies here on Oahu. We were told at 9 o'clock that the fire was contained.
Well, that doesn't match.
The weather here in Oahu was honking. If any of you know what's the word honking,
Honky?
it's akin to if you have ever listened to the NOAA weather station, where the highest winds are always from Ma'alaya Harbor. I didn't believe what I heard. Called my two sisters and I says, you guys need to find out where your families are at, stay close to home. In the afternoon, we intercepted U.S. Coast Guard reports that they were dispatched to Lahaina to retrieve or pluck individuals. By the way, Auntie Alice, I would like a FOIA request to find out what did they really see, okay? When we heard that dispatch, we knew something was wrong tomorrow. We set up a board on the wall and had every intel that was coming out to find out what was going on. Didn't sleep till 2 o'clock in the morning. And then in Wednesday morning, we see our Uncle Richie Olsen fly with his helicopter. I don't know, by the way, Auntie Alice, was it rogue or did he have permission? Nonetheless, thank you, Uncle Richie, because our worst nightmares came true.
Thank you, Uncle Richie.
Right, Auntie Alice? Our worst nightmares came true.
Who's he talking to?
To you.
Where is